Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Will here with Schedule Fly, and this is another episode of the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us here at Schedule Fly. Super simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service and at a low price point. We've actually never raised our prices since 2007, and you heard that correctly. 18 years, no price increase. So if you were on pencil and paper or Excel, we will make life easier for everybody from the owner down to the staff. Forecast your labor costs really efficiently, make your schedules quickly, no headaches, no problems, shift trades, time off requests, all that. It's a good employee benefit for your staff. If you're on another scheduling software, you're probably paying a whole lot more money than you need to, especially if you're just doing scheduling and communication with your team. So schedulefly.com is our website, schedulefly.com, 30-day free trial. My personal cell phone number is right there on the website on like 3 pages. I carry a flip phone. If you're watching, here it is. Call me, text me. Happy to talk to you about Schedule Fly anytime. All right. So without further ado, I have got, we're going East Coast to West Coast today. Awesome opportunity for a long-term Schedule Fly customer. John, introduce yourself.
My name's Jon Darby, and I own a restaurant called Darby's American Cantina in downtown Redlands, California.
Where is Redlands in the state?
Redlands is approximately halfway between Los Angeles and Palm Springs. We're about
Okay.
60 miles east of LA, about 60 miles southwest of Newport Beach, and we're about 60 miles west of Palm Springs, and also about 60 miles south of the Lake Arrowhead in the mountains. So
Ooh,
it's
cool
kind of right in the
location.
middle of everything.
Right in the middle of everything. And you grew up out there, right?
I primarily grew up in San Bernardino, yes, which is right up the street from us.
All right. Now, I read your backstory, which I thought was really cool. But the one question I always ask, we just kind of have a flowing conversation, but the question I always ask is, how did you get started? And when and how did you get started in hospitality? I think you have a really cool story. So tell us the backstory about how you got going in this wonderful business.
I was actually working at Capitol Records with my brothers. My brother was in a band that was on Capitol Records, and I was working with them in the studio and also some traveling with them as well. And they went out on tour and I didn't go with them, and I needed to make a little extra money. So a friend of mine got me a barback job at a club called Club Max in Hollywood over on Yucca, which I think it's something else now. And my mother had actually bought into a restaurant in San Bernardino and was part owner there. And they had gotten rid of somebody, and she knew I didn't. She knew I was only working on the weekends, and basically begged me to come work a couple nights a week till they could find somebody. And I didn't want any part of coming back. I was loving living in Los Angeles and Hollywood, and I was looking forward to maybe doing some other stuff with Capitol Records. But I'd been promoted to bartender already at the club, and I just agreed to. And I started coming back. I'd stay the night at her house, bartend Tuesday night, stay the night Tuesday, bartend Wednesday, and then either drive back or stay the night at her house again, and then drive back the next day. But all my friends growing up started coming in. I started hanging out with them and having fun, and I really brought a younger crowd into it. It was a really small place, only had 45 seats, but all my friends were, in their mid to late 20s, and the crowd that was going in there was like my age now, 50s to 60s, and it started bumping pretty good for a small place. And she basically just eventually talked me into coming back and running that place, and that's where I got started. That was 1992.
1992. Okay. Now, and the place you worked at, Club Max, did I read that it was owned by Sylvester Stallone and Dolph Lundgren?
Yeah, they were part owners of it. They had other people involved in it, but they were part owners of it. Leo Finn, a girl named Sherilyn Finn, an actress, her brother was the manager there. So it was
Oh,
pretty
wow.
fun. A lot of movie stars came through there, and a lot of rock stars and stuff like that. So it was pretty fun.
Okay. So you got back, that place is bumping, you're bringing in a younger crowd. And were you just having a lot, like, did you just really enjoy what you did?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun getting back with the people I grew up with, and I mean, it was kind of my hometown, even though I missed being in LA, the excitement of being in Los Angeles. It was pretty easy transition coming back, to tell you the honest truth. It really was. I was just going to say, eventually one thing led to another, and I ended up taking the whole place over. And then we lost our lease in 1999, and we were month to month. And I found there was another bar around the corner, bar and restaurant, that had closed, but they were still paying all their bills, and took out a loan and bought that and moved into that spot, which is a lot bigger. It's at about 150, about the
Okay.
same size I have now.
Okay. So that's not where you are now. That was a different.
No, that was called Celebrities, and it was in San Bernardino. I sold that in 2012 when I was getting a divorce from my first wife. We agreed to just go ahead and sell it, and went to work for Cisco Foods temporarily because I was needed to work, and I was looking for a spot in Redlands where I always wanted to be. I found this spot. I talked to the owner. He owned another restaurant down the street, and asked him if he wanted to sell, and he said yes. And one thing led to another, and the New Year's Eve of 2013, we opened.
Okay. 2013, New Year's Eve. Okay. Got it. So you guys have been at it for a dozen or so years now.
Yeah,
Now,
11 and a half years.
okay. When you, one of the things you said that I find interesting is, I always think this is such a fascinating topic is leases. So you had a lease, your mom's place with a lease had come to an end, and then you were month to month. Did you learn from that? Did you learn anything that you took forward into your next places about leasing?
Well, yeah, you wanted a longer lease, obviously. When I moved to the newer spot, I had a 4 5s, basically 5 years plus three other fives at my discretion. And then when I sold it, the new guy negotiated his new lease. And then when I got this place, I got a 10 and 2 5s. So I still have 3 more years, 3.5 years left on this five plus five more. We'll see where it goes from there.
10 and 2 5s. Okay. Now, is it easier to get a longer term if do you need to have had a significant amount of years under your belt owning a restaurant, or is it just depend landlord to landlord?
I think it just depends landlord to landlord. I mean, the first landlord that I had, I really didn't really know her. She wanted to sell the property, but she wanted double what it was worth. And
Uh,
obviously wasn't going to be able to do that. So I moved on to the new spot.
okay. So 10 and 2 5s. And then when you started there, so you were at Cisco for a short
Yeah,
period.
for a few months. Yeah, actually not for very long.
Was that one of your customers?
Yes, I was their customer. I used Cisco for all my food supplies.
But I
And
mean,
then
like when you found that restaurant, was that when you were like, how did you know the guy wanted to sell his place?
I didn't actually. It wasn't doing very well. And I knew him for years from going to his other restaurant. And I just took a shot, and he wanted to. So we did it.
So you felt like it wasn't doing well, but it wasn't based on the location. You would
I
have a
will
better opportunity at that location.
tell you that we have the best location in the entire city. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
No doubt about it. What were they not getting right?
They
Spread too
became a
thin?
nightclub
Oh,
for a while, which I'm totally not a fan of. I got away from the really good food. And they had a great bar, which is pretty much the same as it was when I bought it. And we did some other renovations and made it more of a restaurant. I mean, if you've seen the pictures of the inside of it, it's kind of like a Yard House type of restaurant. Same kind of style, but definitely more sports oriented. We have almost 40 TVs, and we get all the games. I mean, there's any game you want to see, we're going to get it for you, pretty much.
how many TVs?
38 total.
Okay.
A lot.
I bet it is.
I'm,
Okay. So when you went to buy that, did you take out a loan or do owner financing, or how did you raise
well,
it?
that's where my cousin came into play. I don't know if you saw that, but my brother and my cousin are partners with me here.
Yeah.
My cousin had a little bit of money, and he put up the money up front and then as a loan, and he also owns part of it as well. And then that money got paid back to him, and he gets dividends each year through the K1 at the end of the year.
Gotcha. Okay. And then so you're there operating and okay, got it.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
all me. The operations is all me.
okay. You still love it?
Yeah, most of the time. I mean, the one thing that I've always hated about this business, and I don't, is that it never stops. And not that I don't mean I know that you have to keep growing no matter how long you've been doing it. You have to stay up with the trends. I mean, when I first started this, they didn't have internet and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and Instagram and Facebook and all those kind of things. And the music changes, people's tastes change as far as foods, as far as what they like when they go to a restaurant. You have to kind of keep up with that kind of stuff. But I mean that, like, we're only closed 3 days a year. We close 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And other than that, I mean, there's always a chance I'm going to get a phone call and there's going to be something I have to go fix or deal with. And that's the only part of it I really don't like. Other than that, the customers and the employees are absolutely amazing. I've even been, it's kind of funny around town. I've got a lot of really close friends that own other restaurants in this town. And I set the record. We have 9 gals that work here get pregnant in the last 14 months. And that's quite a bit
Oh,
for a
wow.
small restaurant. That's amazing,
Wow.
including my daughter-in-law, by the way, which is pretty cool.
Well, that is cool. Maternity leave.
Yes. Yeah. We've had a lot of that to deal with, but that's okay.
You know, you just hit on something I learned when I started doing this podcast. So I used to think that I would talk to all these restaurants. I've been doing this for like 12 years now or something. I thought, okay, I'm going to talk to all these successful restaurant owners and learn all the tips and secrets. And one day I'm going to have my own restaurant. Man, it didn't take me long to realize, like, okay, I just want to talk to restaurant owners, but I don't think I have what it takes to do it, because it really is. I don't mind change, but like the amount of change y'all have on like a daily basis is crazy. Like you said, 3 o'clock in the morning, the freezer goes out. I mean, you're it. Like, you're the person who ultimately is going to have to, handle that. Now, I know you can bring in good, trusted teammates and delegate, but at the end of the day, the owner is like, the buck stops there, and it's probably hard to turn your brain off. I have a hard enough turning my brain off with a software business, much less a restaurant where, like, there literally could be a metaphorical fire or an actual fire on any
Yes,
given day.
you're absolutely right. It's insane, man. I will say too that if it's not in you, don't do it. If I had a dollar for every friend or customer or person that's told me they really wanted to own a bar, I'd be a trillionaire. I could just retire. And my question to every one of them is, do you want to work at a bar? And they say no. Well, they see me at 3 or 4 in the afternoon go up and have a beer with some of my good customers and also my friends. And that's the part that they think is cool. But they didn't know that I got here at 5:30 in the morning and maybe snaked a toilet or snaked a drain or had to fix something or cleaning up after my employees that don't necessarily always do the best. So they don't see all that stuff.
Yeah.
They see the part that looks glamorous. I tell them, go to your favorite restaurant at bar every day. Hopefully it's mine. And buy 5 people to your left a drink and buy 5 people to your right a drink. You're going to be a hero and you're going to save money.
Yeah, that's sexy and cool. And then you don't have all the other stuff to deal with. There you go. I like
Yeah.
that.
Kind of difference between being a parent, being a grandparent. I mean, I know when I'm a grandparent, I'm going to be able to hand my grandkid back to my son, right?
Yeah,
But when you're a parent, you hand him to your wife or yourself.
that's it.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
That's a great point, man. It really is. It seems cool. It seems glamorous, but the reality is it is a grind, and you do have to love it. And if you do love it, and you always go back to, what you said, which is you're really just somebody who loves um, making people happy, making their day. That's your
Absolutely.
team. That's it's your employees and it's your customers. And if you get a lot of joy from that, then that can, if it's even if it just outweighs it by this much, it makes it worth it, because it is such a meaningful. It's what a great way to help young people grow and learn skills that they may stay there. They
Absolutely.
may take, I mean, you work in a restaurant. I've had my kids work, and I'm like, you're going to learn all these skills that are very transferable. And so that's really important. And as a mentor, it's a wonderful thing. And then as just somebody who does have that small amount of time to go in and see people that are, taking a break from their busy days and all of their problems. And maybe they're celebrating a positive thing. Maybe they're mourning a loss. Maybe they're getting together with friends for the first time in a while, but it's like this opportunity to just kind of make people's day. And I know how rewarding that is. I've talked to enough of y'all to understand that, but the flip side of that is just be prepared. Don't just that's a slice, but and it's funny because John, I have people that tell me they listen to this podcast and realize they didn't want to open a restaurant after all, so that's good.
Yeah,
I've had people say they listen to this podcast and it's helped them inspire them. And then I've had honestly a lot of owners that say, I listen to the podcast for therapy because I'm always so busy in the middle of running my restaurant. And I think I'm like, why am like, do I not know what I'm doing? I'm dealing with all this stuff. And then I listen to all these other owners saying the exact same things. I'm like, oh, well, it's not just me.
absolutely. Well, we've got a group of about 13 or 14 restaurants in this. Well, I'm right in the heart of downtown, and there's a bunch of them very close to me, restaurants and bars, and they're all different styles and all that kind of stuff. But we all have a text thread that we share together, and all support each other, and it's just what you said. I mean, they all have the same problems I have.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. I'll find out my friend Brandon that owns Citron restaurant down the street, it's a fine dining Italian restaurant. I'll see him in the morning. I'll drive by and I see a plumbing truck in front of his place. I pass his restaurant coming to mine, and I'll pull over and he's got a flood in his basement. And I'm like, I get out of the car and I'm helping him pick stuff up. You know what I mean? That's what we do.
It's a very supportive group, typically of people. Restaurant people are sort of a rising tides lifts all boats mentality. I think good ones are like you want all of your peers down there. They're not competitors as much as you're part of a group. You want the whole town to be successful and thrive, and everybody
100%.
wins if that's the case. Yeah, I think it's a
Absolutely.
wonderful mentality. Most independent restaurant owners tend to share that mindset, and I think that's a really admirable attribute.
I
Very
agree,
common.
100%. Brandon will even come in here. He's also a general manager of our country club down the street. He does that and runs a restaurant, which is absolutely insane. But he wears a shirt and tie at the country club. He'll come in here after work at like 8 o'clock on a Friday night, and we're backed up at the bar, and he gets behind the bar and starts washing dishes. And they love all the gals love it because he's in his tie, and they're just trying to throw dollar bills at him and he's just
That's
a
great.
worker, man. He's a
That's
worker.
awesome. It's definitely, yeah. If you better be a hard worker. That's another thing. I don't, sexy as it
Absolutely.
might look, you better be willing to work really hard. There is just no way around. I think a lot of people think I'm, you know, I'm a good, like when we have parties at my house, I'm good at mixing drinks or I'm a good cook or whatever, but that doesn't transfer over into running a successful restaurant operation.
No.
It
Uh,
really understanding all the financials, understanding your labor, understanding your cost of goods, understanding how to negotiate a proper lease, understanding how to adapt to the changing, food trends, drink trends, how to leverage technology, how to leverage social media. It does never change. And gosh, the amount of kind of technology that's entered the restaurant space. I mean, we're part of it, but it's amazing how much money has been thrown into restaurant tech and all this stuff, it starts to eat into like, every little thing we pay for, it's going up in
yes.
cost. And then how do we manage our cost? Like how much do we pass along to the customer? And I mean, especially the last few years, like what a challenge it must have been to try to
Oh
navigate
my
that,
gosh.
like post COVID. And
One of the things we have here in California that a lot of the other states don't have, and it's a bad thing, is our minimum wage is through the roof. It's
yeah, what is it now?
16.50 an hour. And
That's
I don't
tip too,
mind
right?
that for the kitchen staff, but you start having to pay the front of the house that much money, and they're making pretty decent tips. And it's not that I don't want to pay them. It's not that. It's that you have to figure out, oh, well, how much can I raise my cheeseburger or my steak to compensate for that? I mean, when I first started at this restaurant 7.5 years ago, minimum wage was $8 an hour. Now
Yeah.
it's 16.50. My prices aren't double what they were when I started. Not even close. Hers were about, $11. Now they're 16. So
Isn't
there's a
that,
lot
can
less.
you imagine like thinking even just 5 or 6 years ago that you would be charging $16 for a burger?
No, it's insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And then you got the big chain restaurants that have done the exact opposite. Like when I first started in the business in 92, our hamburgers were like $5. And places like Fridays and Chili's were like $10. And we had just as good of a product. They had good products as well back then. Now our hamburgers are 16 and theirs are $10. How in
Yep.
the world are your hamburgers the same price as they were 30 years ago without losing quality, right? And they've
Oh
really
yeah.
they've really gone down in their quality. Most of the chain restaurants have.
You know, I find it really interesting, these states like California, when you do these things, it's there's a term in medicine called iatrogenics, which is like when a doctor does harm while intending to help. And I feel like there's a lot of that in some of this legislation where it's like, oh, well, we'll require these restaurants to pay more because we want to help the workers. You have to have it. If you don't have any business experience, I can understand why that sounds good. But the problem is you play that out. It's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, these businesses can't afford that. So they have to employ fewer people, which because,
Yep.
and then have worse, and then so people will lose their, or the restaurant closes because they can't. And then, so it's a tough balance between, like, I get the minimum wages, like you said, like the back of the house, all that stuff. But boy, these servers that are making 16.50 an hour plus tips. I mean, you probably making 30 or 40 bucks an hour or something like.
No, sometimes way more than that.
That's
My wife's a critical care ICU nurse, and my servers sometimes make more per hour than she does, and it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, nobody with any common sense would agree that that makes sense. Like,
It
that
doesn't.
just doesn't,
Well,
work.
when minimum wage goes up, the prices of everything go up. So it never benefits the minimum wage worker. Never. The only thing that it benefits is the state, because the state has higher sales tax, they have higher employer tax, they have higher workers' comp. Oh, that's the state and the county and the city, the only things that benefit when minimum wage goes up. That's it. You don't benefit even if you don't have an employee, because your burger is going to be more money.
Yeah.
The worker doesn't benefit because what they buy is going to be more money. They're just taking in more and paying out.
Yeah. California's going to have to figure that out because y'all are losing more people than you're gaining it.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I suspect where you are, it's maybe not quite as bad, but you've got all that along with rising crime and all this stuff. I mean, I'm in North Carolina, so I don't see it firsthand, but I hear about it enough to know, and I know that the numbers don't work right. Like
Oh
when you
gosh.
have more people leaving than moving there, that's not a good.
Yes.
It'll have to fix itself. And California is a great and resilient state, and it's a huge economy, and like common sense eventually tends to prevail. Like because there's a point where you just need enough people to say, all right, that's it, enough. Like when it's not affecting you, you don't really pay attention. But then when you start going out and you're like, wait a minute, why did it just cost me $130 for my family of five to go have burgers and fries? Like, this is not okay. I can't do
Exactly
this.
right.
It's stupid.
A hundred
Which is what
percent.
happens now, literally. I mean, I have a family of five, and we're in North Carolina where the wage is a lot lower, and it's still like what? How is that even possible? Like, come on. That stuff tends to you get more people interested. People go to like it'll fix itself, but in the meantime, it's tough, man. Since COVID, you guys have really just it's like one
Yeah.
thing after the next in the restaurant business. But
COVID was very tough on all of us too in California, because I don't want to get political, but our governor really shut us down, man. He made it really super hard to do any kind of business. And then, they
yeah,
tried to promote us to do to-go food. The type of food that I do, it's not really great for to-go. I mean,
yeah,
burgers are okay, chicken wings are fine, but start doing nachos and cold and hot sandwiches, they're messy when they get home. And in a nutshell, our profit's the alcohol anyways. The food
yeah,
kind of takes care of itself, but the alcohol, the beer and wine and drinks are what make our money in the long run.
yeah. I don't like your governor. I'll say that. I don't
I don't like
trust
them either.
that. Yeah, I don't. I won't. I just, as most people, I sit kind of somewhere right in the middle of all this stuff.
Just like you.
But I do know who I don't trust. I don't trust
He's not trustworthy. We couldn't go to a restaurant, and then he got caught with
it,
pictures taken of him at the most fanciest restaurant we have in California.
and yeah, I know, man. That's just you lose all your credibility when you do that kind
Yes,
of stuff.
sir.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk about alcohol because there. I'm curious, depending on where you are in the country and what age bracket you're in, et cetera. It's it seems like alcohol sales are I don't know if they're declining as much as they went up a lot during COVID. And then now that like, are they settling back in? Like, I don't think alcohol is going anywhere, but what are you seeing out there? Are people drinking less? I've also heard restaurant owners talk about young people or like eating pot gummies and staying home instead of going out to restaurant. Like, what are you seeing out there, John?
That's possible. I'm not here at night, so I don't really see the crowd as much. Alcohol sales are great. I mean,
Yeah.
the beer craze has kind of gone down a little bit. That the craft beer was super hot 10 years ago. I mean, it's still there and there's still a lot of craft beer drinkers. But the more the younger people are going to whiskey and tequila, and they're buying the expensive ones as well.
Are
They
they?
really like the high end stuff.
Do you see any rise in sales of gin?
Not really that much, honestly. It's
Not there.
mostly whiskey and tequila.
I think in the South, we're starting to see more gin, a little bit like whiskey's kind of being replaced a little bit by gin. I mean, these things trend back and forth. I
Oh,
know. I'm just
sure.
curious. Like, we kind of had our whiskey phase. I had a guy on recently, and Harlow. He's got this place down in Mississippi called Wonderbird Spirits, and they distill gin from jasmine rice, and
Wow.
they're the only distillery in the Western Hemisphere that distills from rice. And there's like four in Japan that do because it's real labor intensive. It's really a true craft, but
Sure.
it's expensive, but it's freaking awesome. And I thought that was a cool story. But I've like, I mean, I'm anecdotal just by my buddies and stuff. Like we all used to get around, like I live on a farm, we'd have a bonfire and everybody would bring whiskey. And now it's like more people bringing gin. Yeah. Check out Wonderbird Spirit. I don't know if they just, I don't know. I know they're in like 30 something states. I don't know if they're in
I will check it out.
yeah, his episode was on here recently. You could listen to that and hear his story, but he's a good guy, good stuff. So I see, I have to ask you about a few things I see in the background there. One is that Magic Johnson up there and that, to your left, or who
Oh,
is that?
yes, it is. That's
Yeah.
Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan sitting next to him.
It's cropped out Jordan. It looked like Magic.
Oh,
Magic's my
okay.
favorite player. I
He's mine
always
too.
Magic, man. Who would have thought if you found like in 1992 or 93 or whatever, and he was diagnosed with HIV, and somebody told you, well, um, 30 years later, that dude is going to be the happiest, healthiest dude in every room he's in, you'd be like, because remember back then it was like it was kind of a
Oh,
death.
yeah. He
And
actually was November of 91 when that came out.
was that not November of 91? Yeah, I remember being at football practice when I heard that. And that would make sense. That was my senior year, fall of 91. Yep, there you go. Yep.
It was actually November 9th of 91 was the exact day.
You know the date.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. I'll never forget
Wow.
it. I used to have Lakers season tickets for years that my grandparents had, even before the Forum was built, when they had the LA Sports Arena. And I went to most of the games in the 80s, so I've seen Magic play live about 300 or 400 times, I would guess. And he's the best player ever, man. Jordan's probably the GOAT, but Magic he's just special for sure.
Nobody like him. I mean, like, nobody like him. There's very few like that. There's like him. You take Steph Curry now. There's like nobody
Yeah.
like, kind of changed the game, like and yeah. Well, that's cool. I love that. And then I see a home plate there. What's the story there? Is that from
That is actually that's a regular base, and that is signed by Steve Garvey, Ron Say, Bill Russell, and Davey Lopes. They were the four infielders for the Dodgers for 7 straight years, and they set a record for that. Which will
That's
nowadays, that'll never get broken now because so
yeah.
many players change teams and stuff like that.
So I've been in North Carolina my whole life, except for 2 years. And those 2 years I lived in Burbank, California.
Nice.
And like 99 and 2000. And we were, because Burbank's like not far at all from Chavez Ravine. And I would go to
Yeah,
Dodgers
very
games.
close.
I would actually I'd listen to the radio and listen to Vin Scully. And I kind of fell in love with the Dodgers. And, so yeah, and I like baseball a lot. I've been to a lot of baseball stadiums. I've been to all the like old notable stadiums, but there's nothing like Dodger Stadium in my mind. I love that place.
It's
Freaking
pretty
awesome.
awesome, I'll tell you that. Baseball's my favorite sport as well. So.
Well, I see the bats up there. You got who signed those bats?
So that is Duke Snyder, Kirk Gibson, and Steve Garvey.
That's pretty freaking cool.
Yes.
Uh, I tell you, I think my all-time favorite baseball player is Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, he's definitely one of mine for sure.
He's had some tough, bad luck in the playoffs sometimes, but man, that guy is solid, good dude,
He's an
hard worker.
amazing person too. He really is. I don't
Yeah,
know the man, but what I see of him and hear of him, he's amazing.
he seems like a throwback. Like he just seems like one of the old timey guys that like just went out there and gave you everything he had every night and would pitch as many innings as you needed and do whatever you need, like with no worry about himself. And like I love that. So that's yeah. So you got, I mean, I'm sure you got a ton of awesome pictures out there, a sports bar with all those TVs. Yeah, you're surrounded with it. I mean, if you love sports and you got a sports bar, man, it is hard work, but I tip my hat, man.
Part for sure.
I see that smile. I mean, that's a very bright, genuine smile. I can see coming across the screen talking about this.
Yes.
Yeah. What a fun business. So you said that you say your daughter-in-law is working for you and is also.
Yes. So I have my own her well, they're actually not quite married yet, but they're engaged. My son Kyle, he's 30. He bartended here for a while. He's a Chino police officer now. Yeah, awesome. And he's going to marry Marissa. She's bartending here and she works at a college as well. And then my stepson Gage is graduating from the CHP Academy in Sacramento in 2 weeks. So I'll be up
Nice.
there for his graduation. And then my stepdaughter, she's 24. She just graduated from Cal Baptist and as a nurse, as an RN. So she should have her job pretty soon as a nurse. My younger son, my other son, Kobe, works here, but he just moved to Los Angeles, kind of what I did. And he's an actor and a musician as well. And he's also probably going to teach school as well. He graduated from University of California, Riverside already. And he wants to go out on his own and see what he could do in LA. I'm pretty proud of him. A little nervous, but yeah, I took him to the U-Haul place this morning to help him get his
Oh,
U-Haul.
wow.
And he goes, I said, "You're driving that back to the house. Be careful." And I followed him all the way back to the house like he was 16 years old still.
Love it, man. That's awesome.
A lot of fun.
You got yourself a good thing going out there, man.
Yeah, pretty, very lucky man. I have a wonderful wife as well. Like I said, she's a nurse also. And we've been married 12 years now, 12 and a half years. And good stuff. Before I forget too, I wanted to tell you one of the biggest differences from the old days to now, besides the technology, was, at Celebrities, I didn't have as many employees as I have here. And I also used to do the schedule for everybody. I have a executive chef that I've had since we opened, and he handles the entire kitchen on our schedule fly as well. But I could have done my schedule back then on a napkin because nobody called off.
Yeah.
I rarely asked for a vacation. Now, not so much. I have 5 switches come across in a half an hour sometimes.
I
And I'll
know.
be sitting with Brandon, my buddy, or Billy Haig from the state. He's right across the street from me. And we're just laughing because all 3 of our phones are going. Brandon does schedule fly as well. I don't know if Billy does, but they're going off with changes. And Brandon, I'm the one that talked him into getting it. And I said, "Dude, you got it. I'm telling you, you're going to love it." And he said, "Oh my God, it saves me so much time." And because instead of getting phone calls, somebody telling you that they can't come in, they're working with each other and getting the schedule switched. And as long as someone picks it up, I really don't care.
Yeah.
The goal is to get a butt in the seat to do the job. So
Yeah.
you guys are a life. Maybe my most important thing I have besides my customers and my staff is your app. I swear to
Oh,
God.
wow.
It's so perfectly easy to use, to control. When you guys got hacked a couple of years ago, I scrambled and found another one. I can't remember what it was called. I looked at a few of them and it had pretty good reviews. And it wasn't terrible by any means, but it wasn't like your guys. No way. And I was in contact with you quite a bit, hoping you were going to come back. And I felt bad for you guys. I know you had to deal with a lot. You were probably panicked like crazy, and glad you came out of it.
Did you watch those videos I was putting out every day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Holy cow, I was terrified, man.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, before any of that, it was New Year's Day, 2022. It's 6:30 in the morning. It was a Saturday, and that's when we went down. And all I could think was, oh no, all of our customers on a huge important day don't know what their schedule. I was like, oh, this is awful. Like, how do we get something? We got to help. Like, it wasn't even about us. It was like, we got to figure out a way to get our, and y'all were, I mean, God, man, it was like, we started putting out those videos, and I probably spent 12 hours a day fielding phone calls. And, like, it was really unfortunate. I learned a lot about the dark side of, tech, and it was awful. It was a Russian guy and, or group. And you know what the craziest thing about that was? We had to hire this group. They were actually out in your state. They were in Berkeley, and they're former FBI guys. But we had to hire them to negotiate because we didn't want to negotiate directly with some, basically it's a cyber terrorist. So they're like, I was like, yeah, but okay, if we agreed to a payment, right? We had to pay them a ransom payment. I was like, but if we send that, how do we know we're going to get the decryption key? The guy goes, Will, it's a business based on trust. I'm like, what? He goes, listen, there's a 97% chance if you send the money, you're going to get exactly what they said because they want you to tell the next company, just pay them and you'll get what you want. And then they'll tell the next company, he goes, and that's how this goes. He goes, 3% of the time that it doesn't work out, it's so rare, and it'll happen every now and then. It's newer groups that are just getting started. This group that's attacked you, we know of them. They're not new, so they're going to pay you. He said when the new ones come in there and they screw over the business, the hacking community, the cyber criminals turn against them and shut them out because they want their business to be like, they want people to know you pay, you get what you want, and they move to the next one. And John, we did the audit afterwards, and we found out that they had hacked in 2 years and 2 months prior to pulling the trigger. But the reason they waited so long is because we were that far down in line. So when they finally got to our case, it took them 2 years and 2 months to get there because they have that much volume. They're in so many businesses right now that have no idea, and they won't know for another year or two or whatever because like the volume keeps picking up. So it was like brutal, but man, you just gave like probably the best testimonial I think we've ever gotten. Like I might have to like clip that and put it on our website, man. I really appreciate you saying that. That's awesome.
It's 100% the truth, man. And I knew what kind of guy you were when I got to see your videos. It was really important that you did that. It really was. You became one of us. Oh, as I look at my phone, a schedule fly text, someone switching apps.
That's freaking
hilarious. Yeah, told you.
It happened.
That happens all the time. Server Tuesday night, 5:30 to 11.
Did somebody just offered up a shift?
No, I don't see it when they offer it up. I see it.
You got to approve it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to approve it. So I'm going to do that right now while we're talking.
That is so
for tonight.
That just happened. I always tell people, John, I'm like, we're kind of a weird tech company because again, I've got a flip phone. I want just enough technology in my life. I just don't want a lot. I want enough that I'm not being ridiculous and just refusing to use anything. I'm not a Luddite, but I always tell people, if you're on a napkin or if it's working and you don't have any headaches and you don't have any, just do what you're like. Don't even use Schedule Fly. You're fine. Like, I'm not even going to try to sell it.
Yeah.
It's when you get to a point where it's like, God, it's a headache. Like, we have aspirin, right? We're not a vitamin. I'm not trying to sell a vitamin. It's like, but if you got a headache, we have a solution and it's easy and it works. And to your point, like, more and more these days, particularly the younger generation, it's a different world. And they're not just going to be like, oh, here's my schedule, I'm going to go work then. Like, my own kids, they've worked at restaurants. They're like, I don't want to work Tuesday night. I got to, I'm supposed to go to John's house. I'm like, dude, that's your schedule. And they're like, well, no, I can give up my shift.
Yep, 100%. It happens you just saw it. It happens all the time. But thank God, because in the old days, if they were trying to do that, and we didn't even have text or cell phones back then, I'd be getting a call here at the restaurant. Hopefully I'm here for them to try and find me to tell me that they can't make it in. And now I'm trying to call everybody else, asking them if they can cover.
Yeah. It's just not worth it to be doing all that.
Not even a tiny bit.
You got your millions in that cash in that safe right there behind you?
There's probably about 800 or 900 bucks in there at least. That's one of the things that's a lot different now as opposed to the old times too, is um, I haven't deposited cash in 3 years because we've taken less cash payments than we have credit card tips. So I basically have to withdraw money and not deposit. It gets deposited through the credit card and I withdraw it and I offset it like that. But I haven't made a deposit of cash for at least 2 years. I actually have to make 2 or 3 withdrawals a week.
You have to go make withdrawals. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's changing fast.
Back in the old days, it was 95% cash.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the credit card companies are killing it with all that. Those fees, for sure. That just keeps going up. But yeah, we'll be cashless before long. I don't like that. I like cash, but dude, I gotta tell you, man, I have really enjoyed this. I hope I get to get out to Redlands sometime and hang out with y'all and watch some sports and have a drink, my friend.
I would absolutely love that, my friend. You bet.
Appreciate it very much. Appreciate the business. Please tell your team. I'm gonna get some Schedule Fly trucker hats and tube socks in the box and mail them on out there to you guys.
Sounds great, man.
Awesome.
That sounds absolutely great.
Appreciate you, John. Thank you, man. Thanks for the time and just thanks for sharing your story. And this is just been a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. So did I. I had a great time, and hopefully we can see each other one of these days.
We'll make it happen. All right, y'all. That's another episode. Stay tuned. Give us a like, give us a star, whatever you listen to or however you listen to it. More ratings, more comments means it gets put in front of more people to hear awesome stories like this. Thank y'all for listening. Next episode coming soon. See y'all.